going on, Jerome's? Vikings rookie minicamp starts today and goes on throughout the weekend. Now, generally what happens is it's a combination of draft picks, undrafted free agents, young players from the Rooster, some UDFA tryouts, as well as some free agent tryouts as well. Generally, they like to get about 50, 53 players so that they can have a full practice in all three phases, but I haven't seen a full list, but I'm sure we'll talk about it once it does come out. But, of course, seeing J.J. McCarthy, it's going to be glorious, man. That's right. First step towards Canton, and it's big. I love it, man. Also, Levi Drake Rodriguez, a.k.a. Senior Sack. I already love him, man. Like, the heart and hustle, he's going to be bringing the heat every single time, man, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Like, honestly, I'm low-key fired up about this team. They are young all over the place. They have either stars or potential stars all over the place, and so many good stories, so many good vibes, and this really is, again, bring it back to the Wolves. Wolves back. Just the culture. And the culture of the Wolves team this year is definitely evolved. I mean, it wasn't too great last year, but I mean, the guys just want to win together, and they are young, they are hungry. They don't know what they don't know, which can be a blessing. And they have a superstar that play great defense, and defense does win championships, and hopefully the Vikings can. Because also, if and when the Wolves do bring a title back to the great state of Minnesota, it just opens up the gates. Like, hey, Big Four sports, 91 is a long time ago, man. So it's okay. It's okay to bring championships back to the great state of Minnesota. Hopefully the Vikings can vibe with that. Also, speaking of vibes, so Drake May, R.I.P. Drake May. And I've said this before, and I'm going to stand by it. I like Drake May as a prospect. Honestly, if the Vikings traded up and got him, I wouldn't have minded it. But the way that it shook out with the Vikings getting McCarthy and Turner, I'm kind of more okay with that. Anyways, but May ended up in New England. I'm worried, man. I'm worried because weapons, I mean, okay, Javon Walker can talk a big game. Like, will he back it up? Well, what about Jalen Polk? What about Kendrick Bourne? Sure. Offensive line outside of Von Winu, it's not great. And sort of a viral question went around the social media is like, hey, what's in Drake May's pockets? Now, I don't think it's great sweatpants season. Now, what it is probably like kids' phones nowadays are basically the size of mini tablets. I mean, yeah. So it's probably a phone, maybe two phones, maybe a portable charger because I'm sure he loves playing Pokemon Go, that sort of thing. Or, well, my working theory is that it's like 6 boxes of condoms because that's the only protection this kid is going to get outside of Michael Onwenu this year. He's going to get beat to hell, and it sucks because I'm afraid the Patriots are going to ruin him. But, oh, well, he's not a Viking. Anyways, per Persuasion, put this out there. Per Justin M. NFL. Now, Justin M. does fantastic work doing interviews with draft prospects. He's hardcore into the draft process. Really respect his opinion. He's a Titans fan, unfortunately. Of the quarterbacks drafted in the first round, he believes Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy is one of them. Nailed it. That should start week 1 and believes he could lead Minnesota to 10-plus victories. The Vikings did sign Sam Darnold for agency, who I believe is capable of keeping Minnesota afloat, but the Darnold addition was made on an emergency basis. In case the Vikings couldn't successfully move up to draft a quarterback in the future, McCarthy could lead the Vikings to a 10-plus victories in 2024. And that's the whole thing, too. Like, I know that people like to poo-poo on the Vikings, but, I mean, that's basically just what happens all the time. But offensively, I mean, they're going to be good. As much as people don't want to give the Vikings credit, offensively, they're going to be good with Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson when he gets back. Darisaw is a damn dog. Same thing with Brian O'Neill. Hopefully, they can suture up the interior offensive line. Aaron Jones is going to do very good things for the running game. And defensively, I love this defense, man. Like, Flores is a madman who may have found his Frankenstein. Like, I honestly think that this team got younger, they got faster, they got sleeker, they got hungrier, and they're gonna wreck fools. They absolutely are, man. Yeah, so I believe, like, McCarthy, this is not meant to be a negative. Like, McCarthy will manage the game. Like, he will take what is there. He will operate the offense. He will distribute the ball to his receivers. He will not make stupid plays or stupid turnovers. He will not force the issue. And that's okay. That is okay. Now, if he's still doing that in 10 years, maybe we'll have an issue. But again, remember, another Michigan quarterback, Tom Brady, was legitimately a game manager for the first 3 Super Bowls. Like, his job was to hand the ball off to Antoine Smith. Here you go. And check it down to Kevin Falk. He had like 147 yards passing in the first Super Bowl against the Rams. So get the hell out of here. Anyways, but yeah, the Vikings can win games with McCarthy. And I do like that he's not just going to be handed the job, unlike some other rookie quarterbacks. Right? Like, if McCarthy starts, it's because he earned it. Speaking of quarterbacks, so if you're of a certain age, you remember Kyle, Jerome, Ezekiel Sluter. That's right. The pride of Northern Colorado. He started off at Southern Miss. He was literally a tight end. So he was a tight end at Ole Miss. I'm pretty sure he lined up next to Rashad Hill, who was a tackle at Ole Miss from back in the day, a Viking swing tackle. But came in as a UDFA, was originally with the Broncos and did well in the 2017 preseason. And then, in a sort of unprecedented move, the Vikings just gave him an assload of money to sign with the Vikes as opposed to signing to the Broncos practice squad. And then eventually, he was quarterback 2 to Case Keenum on that magic carpet ride after Bradford got hurt, which was interesting. But preseason superstar, everyone knows and remembers him, 2017, 2018, etc. But eventually, he was let go because he and Zimmer didn't quite see eye to eye, and Zim sort of trashed Sluter, and he bounced around the league and just sort of whatever. But remember, he did return to the Vikings when they needed a backup quarterback in December 2021, which was the last month of the Zimmer and Spielman regime. And long story longer, so Kyle Sluter was on with One Bar Lumbus. Vikes fan page put this together. Kyle Sluter, the relationship between Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, quote, Spielman really liked me. He really liked me. Zimmer and Spielman hated each other, so Zimmer hated me. They both knew they were getting fired, so when they needed a quarterback, it was a last FU to Zimmer. which is like, because everyone knew that when the Vikings brought back Sluter, the final couple weeks of the 2021 season, that it was basically Spielman just making a passive-aggressive FU to Zimmer. Everyone knows that's what happened, man. But it is quite funny. And just, I don't know, between Teddy and his leg falling off, which was unfortunate, then the Bradford trade, and then Case Keenum, and then Kirk Cousins' contract, they just never could get quarterback right during the Zimmer and the Spielman regime. And also one of them was Kellen Mond, third-round pick back in the day. Around the NFL, Saints waived quarterback Kellen Mond, offensive lineman Tommy Kramer, different spelling, offensive lineman from Notre Dame. Now, the Falcons have a chance to do the funniest thing. Just rack up and stack up guys who are just ready to take Kirk Cousins' job. But Kellen Mond from back in the day, third-round pick, number 66, the final draft for Spielman and Zimmer in 2021. And I liked his upside, man. He is a guy that outdueled Jumpin' Joe Burrow, Texas A&M, LSU back in the day. But it just didn't happen. It just didn't work out, right? And he's got a good arm. He's got some mobility. But, I mean, if he signs somewhere else, it's going to be his 5th team in, 4 seasons? So, yeah. And again, he was drafted by Spielman. He was in camp with the Vikings in 2022, and Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi got a look at him, and eventually they decided to trade for Nick Mullins. That's it, man. That's it. Oh, speaking of Vikings legends, so Jumpin' Joe Webb is he announced on his Instagram, Spiderweb, blessed to become the next head football coach for Jackson Olin High School. Mustang Nation, let's go. So Teddy, as well as Joe Webb, getting in the coaching game. You love to see that. And Joe Webb, man. All right, so this is just I love that Viking random backup quarterback guy day. But Joe Webb, 6th round pick in 2010. And it was the last year of Childress. And so Joe Webb was a quarterback at UAB Blazer. That's right. And the Vikings brought him in as a quarterback / wide receiver. Now, I think they did Joe Webb a disservice. They should have focused him on one position, right? So stop trying to make him into a proto Taysom Hill, which they never used him like that anyway. But focus on quarterback or focus on wide receiver. And I mean, Joe Webb had some moments. He started that 2012 playoff game with not so much results. But either way, glad that Joe Webb has found his next mission, and it is good to see. But I mean, Joe Webb was fast, man. Those preseason highlights, he had a cannon on him too. Long release, almost Byron Leftwich-ish, but it happens, man. But yeah, props to Joe Webb. No props to Fox and Fox NFL Sunday. So they tweeted this out. Their NFC playoff prediction. No, just like there's so many things wrong with it. So first off, what about the Eagles gives you any hope? I was like, oh, they got Cooper, DeJean, and Quinion. Cool. Is Jalen Hurts going to stop being ass? Thank you. Is that what's going on? Is that offensive line going to magically get younger? Is that what's going on? Please. The Niners at 2. I mean, the Niners are always going to be tough. Shanahan, Purdy, and company. Plus, it does seem like they're going to keep Ayuk and Debo, which, I mean, both of them were traded at some points this offseason. The Lions at 3, winning the North. Okay. I haven't had many futures bets out there yet, but I put a jelly bean on the don't of the Lions repeating. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be another 50 years before they win the division. Falcons at 4, so they take back the NFC South, and they're never giving it back. Although, so right now, the odds are plus 300 for the Buccaneers. Like, what's changed about the Buccaneers? They've won the division 3 years in a row. The Bulls' defense is still largely intact. I mean, they got Mayfield back. I actually like the Buccaneers. As boring as that is, I think the Buccaneers win the division for the 4th year in a row. And Atlanta's going to be highly variant. Are they going to rally behind Kurt? Are they going to rally behind Penix? The defense, I know that Raheem is a defensive guy, but they don't have any talent on that side of the ball. Sorry. So it's whatever. Then the 5 seed, you got the Packers as the first wild card, Cowboys second wild card, and then the Bears as the third wild card. Is this like opposite day? Like, are these 7 teams besides the Niners who aren't going to make the playoffs? I don't get it. No. No. But lastly, so yes, Wolves are back tonight, 8:30 p.m., Target Center. It's going to be loud. It's going to be proud. It's going to be, the entire Twin Cities is going to be fired up for the Wolves. And I will say, like, the Nuggets are going to swing back. I mean, they're defending champs. They have to have one last gasp in them. If they're going to win a game, it's going to be tonight. Because if they go down 0-3 or 3-0, like, it's over. It's a wrap. Game 4, Target Center on Sunday night. But the whole thing about it too, everything's lining up. Like the basketball Vikings, they got all their flowers. Rudy, 4th-time Defensive Player of the Year. Anthony Edwards doing the damn thing. Conley, the good guy award. Naz Reid, 6th Man of the Year. And what's going to happen is, so Jamal Murray didn't get suspended, so he's going to be booed mercilessly. If he does play, he's listed as questionable with a injury, sure. And then Jokic winning the MVP. Every single time he touches the ball, his tired ass is going to be like, boo. And every time Ant does something, there will be MVP chance because he is the real MVP. So we put this out there. So this is a common meme, which is kind of funny. Anonymous Nuggets players on Anthony Edwards. He walked in our locker room and walked right by me, and I'm like, what the hell is he coming in our locker room for? And he walked up to me. He walked by me and tapped Nikola Jokic on the leg and said, lace him up. It's going to be a long effing game. Now, it's a pretty common trope. I mean, insert whatever player. It basically just speaks to the badassedness of the player. But you could actually see Anthony Edwards doing something like this. Also, go watch the movie Hustle. I know that he's the bad guy in it, but he's so good. He is so natural. He's so charismatic. And, I mean, Edwards is a superstar. But I do think that the Wolves go up 3-0 on the defending champions tonight. And I think they sweep them on Sunday. And then bring on the Thunder. Bring on the Celtics. And then bring on that parade one time. Just bring Daddy's jelly beans home. That's it. But that's it. Vikings Friday news dump. Enjoy the weekend. You guys are the best. Skol. No production value.